Hey Anime Stark fam. Imagine Deku in the midst of Wednesday. Part 1 is here, buckle up for the crossover chaos. Smash that like, subscribe, and let's dive into the unexpected together. We see Izuku jumping from tree to tree, but he stops when he notices a village a few meters away. Izuku, where am I? Is there a village near the city? He thought, confused. He takes a leap and heads towards the village, staying above small buildings or alleyways carefully to avoid being seen. Izuku, how do I figure out where I am? He pondered. This might be the only place for kilometers to get information. Maybe I got lost and ended up here, so I need to find the way back to the city and continue searching for a foe, he thought seriously. The green-haired guy is in an alley, peeking carefully to observe the surroundings. There are people walking, some chatting, and others working. But what's strange for him is that no one has quirks. The city had quirks of mutation, but there's nothing here, it's normal, so to speak. Izuku, no one here has any kind of mutation quirk? He thought, recalling a girl who helped in a storm. It seems too strange, no one has any characteristic in their body. At least Kirishima has his hair like stone, and when I walked, I always encountered people with a small quirk, he thought seriously. Nana, relax, ninth, maybe there's an explanation. Izuku, I hope so, and I hope it's logical. Daigoro, maybe they only have common quirks, like lifting things with the mind or something. Izuku, this stresses me out. He said with a sigh. Leader, it would be better if you calm down, as the seventh said. Daigoro, right, and why don't you go around and find a computer, using that famous internet to gather information? Izuku, oh, what a great idea. Why didn't I think of that before? I'm dressed like a supervillain in DC style. He said comically. Daigoro, oh, and what about it? Izuku, what about it? People might look at me strangely and maybe call a hero, thinking I'm a threat. And I don't feel like fighting right now. He said annoyed. Daigoro, I get the point. Yoichi, so, you need to change your clothes. Izuku, yes, but I don't have anything to change into. And you don't have any money? Izuku, yes, I have a bit, but as I said, going in and out of a clothing store? People will find it odd. Hikage, seriously, that's a problem. Izuku let out a long sigh and leaned against the alley wall, placing his hand on his head. Izuku, what a bother. He said tiredly. Daigoro, I have an idea. Izuku, huh? Daigoro, what if we go to a store? Izuku, but I said people would look at me strangely, Baldy. Daigoro, shut up, brat, and let me finish, how rude. Izuku, sigh sorry, go on. Daigoro, thanks. Well, let's go to a clothing store where no one sees us, grab some clothes without being noticed. Izuku, but that's stealing, isn't it? He thought with a chibi face. Nana, no, and no. Daigoro, what? Are we going to stay like this all the time? Izuku needs to change clothes to avoid attention. Besides, it wouldn't be stealing if you carefully leave the money when you take the clothes. Izuku, if you put it that way, it wouldn't be stealing. Nana, huh? Seriously? Yoichi, well, I have to admit we don't have another option. Besides, it wouldn't be stealing, and that's good. Nana just sighed, and Daigoro placed his hand on his chest, looking proud. Izuku activated Ofa and quickly started climbing the building. Carefully, he moved through the town, observing the places. He quickly found a clothing store and jumped onto the roof. Izuku, we're here. He said while peeking and noticing people entering and leaving the store. Now, how do I get in? Daigoro, easy, smoke. He said with a smile. Let's get sneaky. Izuku, okay, but just a bit of smoke. Also, you make it sound like it's a robbery. Daigoro, I figured. He said seriously. Izuku got a bit annoyed but sighed. Then, he went to the back of the store, descended from the roof, opened the back door carefully, being mindful of not being seen. Although it's a clothing store, it shouldn't have much security, so he only watched out for cameras. He was in the storage room and opened another door slowly to see people shopping and others paying. Izuku, excuse me. Daigoro, please, it's not a robbery. Izuku activated the smoke curtain, and the place began to fill up slowly, alarming all the customers and workers. Worker, what the heck? Izuku acted quickly, activated Ofa, and in less than a second, he was far from the store with clothes in hand. The store quickly cleared of smoke, and we see some customers about to leave. Customer, huh? Customer 2, what was that? Customer 3, I think they did that because the festival is approaching. The customers at the door turned back and continued with their purchases, relieving the workers. Worker 2, maybe I should get a smoke machine. He thought, envisioning a future of profits. But then he saw strange bills and a note in the cash register. Sorry for the inconvenience, I hope this is enough. He thought as he read the note and saw the bills. What is this? With Izuku. We see Izuku in the forest, not far from the city, and we notice that he has changed his clothes. Izuku, phew, much better. It's been a while since I changed. Nana, also, you don't bathe. Izuku went blank. Izuku, right. He said and started heading towards a specific place. Nana, where are you going? Izuku, to a small lake I saw on the way. All one for all carriers had a sweat drop. Minutes later. We see Izuku returning to the town, looking fresh as a lettuce. Izuku, much better. He said with a smile as he arrived back in the town. Daigoro, but what about the outfit? Izuku, it's here. He said, pointing to a bag. Daigoro, where did you get the bag? Izuku, well, I saw it at the clothing store. It's curious, but the point is, I also grabbed the bag. And do you know why I gave them all the money I had? Daigoro just sighed. Izuku, anyway, we have to pretend we arrived in town normally. He said and activated Ofa, starting to run. He jumped and landed in a small alley carefully. Now that I think about it, what about your hair? Izuku, what's wrong with it? Well, it wouldn't hurt too. He was interrupted as Izuku exited the alley. When Izuku came out of the alley, he noticed that there weren't many people around. He took advantage and started walking normally, noticing a few curious glances. Izuku, huh? I was going to tell you, your hair is eye-catching. Izuku forgot that his hair was green and noticed that there wasn't anyone with a similar color. Izuku, did everything I did go to waste? He thought, starting to cry comically. Nana, actually, no. Izuku, what are you talking about? Nana, look closely. Izuku glanced at the people who were looking at him while walking, realizing that they didn't look at him with fear or intentions to harm. Instead, they looked at him with curiosity, and some girls found him cute and adorable, though also sexy. Deserve my 5 votes, V. Besides those glances, it wasn't a big deal, it was just curiosity. Izuku, sigh. Hikage, anyway, don't get distracted. Look for information to know where we are and get back to the city as soon as possible to stop a foe. He said seriously. Izuku nodded seriously and started looking for a library or something. He tried asking people about the location, but some laughed at him because how can he not know where he is? He noticed that the town is famous, though these are thoughts of the green-haired guy. As for the girls, well, some kissed him with their eyes, and some flirted with him. Although it wasn't like before, he had to admit that it made him a little nervous. He quickly said, no, thanks, take care, and left rapidly. Not knowing where he was frustrated him, and people didn't tell him anything. Izuku, I'm so lucky, he thought tiredly and continued searching for the library. Izuku, are there libraries here? They should have one, right? He thought and finally found a library. Yes. He quickly headed there, and when he arrived, he started opening the door slowly, noticing that there weren't many people around. Izuku, people nowadays don't know how relaxing and peaceful this place can be, he thought with a smile and entered. He saw the lady who worked here, the librarian. Izuku, excuse me, ma'am. Librarian, ho? What's the matter, dear? She said kindly, bringing a smile to Izuku. Izuku, this is different, he thought with a smile. I was wondering where the section of the town and world stories is, please. Lady, B, hi, gladly and rather, I'll guide you. Izuku, really? I don't want to be too much trouble, maybe you have a lot of work. Lady, B, not really, dear, you're actually one of the few young people who come here. Most visitors are adults, young people rarely come nowadays. Izuku, I see. Lady, B, well then, shall we go? Izuku, of course. Izuku began following the librarian, and in a few seconds, they arrived. Izuku thanked her for the help. Lady, B, you're welcome. If you need anything else, let me know. She said with a smile and left quietly. Izuku, so kind, ma'am. Izuku started looking for books about the history of this town and the world because he had a thought he hoped was wrong. Izuku left some books on a table and sat down, starting to read. Hours passed, and we see a bunch of books on the table, all neatly arranged. Izuku has a worried look and closed the last book he was reading. Izuku, am I in another world? He said, worried, and tried to calm down. He had read the books, and nothing related to his world's events. Now he knew where he was, in another world. The events were different. In fact, he searched for books, and there was no mention of the first person with a quirk, no quirks or anything. Everyone, ninth, calm down. Izuku, how do you expect me to calm down? He said in a whisper, not wanting to be scolded for being loud, even though there weren't many people around. He didn't want to disturb others. I'm in another world, he said while putting his hands on his head. Yoichi, ninth, maybe there's a more logical explanation. Izuku, like what? It doesn't make sense, unless it's the work of a villain. A foe's work, I don't know. It all started in that cave, he said and opened his eyes. No wonder. Nana, what's wrong, ninth? Izuku, when I left the cave, I felt it wasn't the same forest as before. It was more like the danger sensor telling me we were in a different place. As if it warned me that I'm not in my world. Daigoro, but did you read it correctly? Is it possible? Izuku, I don't know, but I managed to calm down a bit. But let's say this is a foe's doing. Maybe he's responsible, and he sent someone with a peculiar quirk, and maybe those symbols were that. Maybe he used his gift, he said, giving his theory and continuing. Hikage, ninth, calm down. Izuku stopped mumbling. Hikage, just relax. Izuku, what? Didn't I tell you to calm down a bit? Yoichi, you're lying, you're worried and a lot, right? Izuku, sighs, yes. How will I face a foe if I'm not there? Maybe I should have gone with my classmates. Maybe I should have let them help me. Maybe, yes. He was interrupted. Everyone, ninth. Yoichi, that's over. Focus on now instead of the past. Izuku, but. Nana, the first one is right, and besides, you always manage to get out of trouble. And who said this would be different? Izuku, I. He, thanks. Daigoro, well, now that the cheap soap opera drama is over, how about finding a place to sleep? Besides, everyone will be fine. Even if your classmates are not at your level, they manage to cope, right? Maybe after that battle, they'll become stronger. The bald one is right, and we're going back, we just need the how. Nana, but the symbols that brought us here were gone when Izuku returned to that cave. Maybe we should investigate those symbols just in case it's not the work of a quirk. Izuku, sighs, a foe's villain, quirks. Maybe magic or something similar. It really annoys me. He said and got up, grabbed the books, and started arranging them where they were. A few minutes later, we see Izuku on top of a roof of a small building, lying down while looking at the stars. Izuku, wait, guys. When I return, I'll look for a foe and defeat him. I'll come back and smile with you. Just wait. I'll try to find a way back. Wait. He thought and slowly started to fall asleep. -2 days later. We see Izuku walking through the small town, and it was evident that he looked tired because these 2 days, he found no clues on how to return, and it worried him more and more. But he couldn't give up, even though he needed money and a more comfortable place to sleep. He also wanted to eat since it's been 2 days without food. He drank a bit of water, although it wasn't much, and he ran out of water yesterday, starting to feel thirsty. He really needed food. In that moment, he sighed and kept walking, but then he collided with someone. Still, he quickly grabbed the person, saving her from hitting the ground. Izuku, are you okay? He said, somewhat worried, but the girl had a cold look that chilled him a bit. Let go or I'll cut your fingers, she said seriously. Izuku quickly released her but carefully, and she adjusted herself. Izuku looked closely at the girl, black-haired with some kind of black uniform. Izuku, but are you okay? Did you get hurt? And who's this? She thought and said. Fine. She said, but then she stared at him for a few seconds, making the green-haired boy a bit nervous. Izuku, what's wrong? I feel like I've seen you before, she said seriously, confusing the green-haired boy. I think it's my imagination. Izuku, well, I'm glad you're okay, and I think I'm interrupting something. Besides, I have something to do, so take care and look around carefully, he said and started to leave. Wait, she said, grabbing Izuku's shirt. Izuku, what's up? He asked and noticed that the girl was wiping her hand. I don't smell bad anymore. Do I? I wanted to see if you could accompany me to buy a drink. Izuku, huh? Why? If it's to help you from falling, it was nothing? Well, I don't like owing favors to others. At all. She said seriously. This guy has something peculiar. Besides, it's rare to see that hair color. Maybe he could be of help. Izuku, well, I'll take the opportunity to have a drink, although water is very healthy. It's not bad to accept sometimes. He thought and said. Well, then let's go? Fine. I hope you're what I think. She thought and said. Well, then let's go. She said and started walking. Izuku followed. Izuku, by the way, my name is Izuku Midoriya. He said with a smile, but the girl didn't look at him, just kept walking. Merlina Adams. That's my name, and I hope you don't forget it. She said without looking at him while walking, and Izuku followed. Izuku, of course, Merlina. He said with a smile. At least I'll have a drink. We see Izuku walking behind Merlina, he's just keeping up, but after a few minutes, no one is talking, creating an uncomfortable silence. Daigoro, break the ice, I'm getting tired of this. Nana, same here. Yoichi, quickly. Izuku only had a drop of sweat but let out a sigh. Izuku, Merlina, I know you invited me for a drink, but where are we going? We've been walking for a while, and it seems like we're not heading anywhere. Merlina stops, looking like she's thinking about something. Izuku, you don't know where to go, right? Merlina only looks at him for a few seconds. Izuku, I'll take that as a yes, but why don't you know where to go? Are you not from around here? Merlina, it was improvised, this part. Izuku, huh? Merlina looks around but then sees something. Merlina, I think I found the place. She said and started walking towards the area. Izuku, what did I get myself into? He said and started following her again. Let me see if I understood. He said while walking, but Merlina didn't look at him. That's what I would say if she told me something, but no, I didn't understand anything. He said comically. They arrive, and Merlina opens the door. Izuku was about to enter, but the door almost hits him. Izuku, thanks for holding it. He said while holding the door. Glad I have a danger sense. Merlina, what did you expect? I invited you for a drink, not to open the door for you. Izuku, she's right. He said sighing. All this just to save her from falling. He thought with a drop of sweat. As he was about to speak, a machine silenced him. Izuku and Merlina looked, noticing a machine releasing gas, but it turns out to be a coffee maker. Merlina, just what I needed. She said a bit annoyed. Izuku, huh? Are you inviting me for coffee? He said still looking at the coffee maker while a person tried to fix it. Merlina, is it espresso, or do you have a problem with that? Izuku, what? No, sorry if I said something wrong. I just thought it would be like a soda or a milkshake or something, but I'm not complaining. He said while walking towards the coffee maker. Merlina, what are you doing? She said still. Izuku, we came this far, and if you're inviting me for coffee, I don't want to miss this opportunity. Merlina sighed and started walking towards where the green-haired guy was going. We see a guy trying to fix the coffee maker, and then a burst of gas comes out, making the guy cover himself. When he looks up, he sees Izuku and Merlina in front of him, scaring him. You almost gave me a heart attack. He said while putting his hand on his chest. Izuku, sorry for scaring you, it wasn't my intention. He said somewhat nervously. Merlina, coffee and a scare, maybe my day is getting better. Izuku had a drop of sweat? Don't worry, but is scaring others a habit of yours? Izuku, I said sorry, it's not my intention. Merlina, I find it more like a hobby. The guy glanced at the girl but was more focused on her outfit. Are you from Never Again? You guys like changing uniforms. He said while trying to fix the coffee maker. Izuku/Merlina, be careful, you'll burn yourself if you touch their/ it's better if you don't do that. They said, looking at each other, but then heard the guy complaining. Izuku, I told you? What? Do you know about this? He said while looking at the burn. And aren't you also from Never Again? Izuku, no, I don't even know what that is, but are you okay? It looks bad. He said while looking at the burn, but the guy quickly hit it. Yeah, I'm fine, don't worry. Merlina, I'd order a quadruple with ice, but from what I see, it's self-destructing. She said while looking at the coffee maker. Is it always like this? He whispered to the green-haired guy. Izuku, I don't know her well. I literally just met her a while ago. He said, and the guy had a drop of sweat. By the way, what's wrong with it? Well, it's a very annoying beast with a mind of its own, and these instructions are useless because they're in Italian. He said but was quickly interrupted by Izuku who said, let me see that. Well, I'll lend it to you. He said humorously. Izuku looked at the instructions, but he wasn't the only one. Merlina was also looking. Merlina, you also understand this language? She thought while looking at the green-haired guy and then looked back at the instructions. Izuku, well, can you give me a 3-point screwdriver and a 4mm octagonal wrench? He said calmly, surprising the guy, and Merlina didn't show it, but she was a bit surprised. Merlina, interesting. W what? Do you understand Italian? Izuku, shouldn't I? He said while looking at the guy. And no, I just mean. Izuku, sighs, let's say I had a good language teacher. He said and thought. Now that I think about it, that's why I understand these people, they're talking in a language I know. He thought humorously. The one for all bearers only had a drop of sweat. Merlina, here's the deal, Izuku and I fix the machine, and you give us our coffee for free, then you call me a taxi. Izuku was confused by the taxi, although he didn't ask, he wanted his coffee? There are no taxis in Jericho, how about an Uber? He said while giving Izuku the tools he asked for. Izuku started fixing it, and Merlina also lent a hand. Merlina, I don't have a phone, I refuse to be a slave to technology. Merlina glanced at the green-haired guy, and the guy looked at Izuku. Izuku, I don't have a phone either. He said and thought. Thanks, Lady Nagant. He thought humorously. It's not his lucky day. Izuku, if you only knew. Merlina, by the way, I think you missed fixing that part. She said, and Izuku looked at the spot. Izuku, I think it's fine like this. Merlina, I don't know, it seems not. Izuku sighed and barely touched it, a lot of gas came out and hit him right in the face. Izuku, ouch. He said with his eyes closed, then he started opening them. Puff, sorry, but are you okay? Izuku, yeah, I'm fine. He said, then looked at Merlina, noticing she had a smile, though it disappeared quickly. Was it her doing? Although, it confirms she can smile. He thought humorously. By the way, where do you want to go? Merlina, you don't need to know that. She said seriously. Are there no trains either? The nearest station is Burlington, about half an hour from here. Izuku, the problem is the valve? What? Izuku, and done. He said, finishing fixing it. Wow. Thanks. Merlina, so I've seen it before? Huh? Do you have a monster like this at home? Merlina, actually, it's a steam guillotine, I built it when I was 10. Izuku and the guy stared blankly. Merlina, I wanted to decapitate my dolls more efficiently. Sure. Izuku, was it the Grim Barbie? If so, it makes a lot of sense. He said with a chibi face. Whatever. He said and started looking for the coffee maker's lid, found it, and started putting it on carefully. And here I was thinking never again students don't get their hands dirty. Izuku, no, I told you I'm not from there? Sure, by the way, I'm Tyler. Izuku, I'm Izuku, nice to meet you, Tyler. He said with a smile. Tyler, nice to meet you, Izuku, and. He said while looking at Merlina. I don't know your name, obviously, or do you only say it when necessary? Merlina just looked at him for a few seconds. Merlina. Tyler, alright, Merlina, how about as a gesture of gratitude, I take you to Burlington? Merlina, perfect. Izuku, well. And Tyler, how about you give me my coffee? Sure. He said and went to serve. A few seconds later. We see Izuku and Merlina sitting at a table while waiting, but then that uncomfortable silence returned. Izuku, well. So you leave after the coffee, right? Merlina looked at him. Izuku, relax, I just said, you don't have to answer. Merlina, by the way, where are you from? Izuku, huh? Merlina, I mean, look at you, your hair is green. And I haven't seen anything like that. Until now. Izuku, well, let's say I'm from Japan. Merlina, and what's a Japanese doing here? Also, I never thought Japanese people had colors like that. I don't want to visit them. Izuku, I'm unique. He said calmly. Merlina, wait, so it's natural? Izuku, yes. Merlina, oh, interesting. Izuku, and one question, what is Nevermore? Merlina, it's a school, for unique people. Izuku, like, unique how? Merlina, well, there are vampires, werewolves, mermaids, and more. Izuku, I see. He said and thought. So, they're people with quirks and they're called that? Merlina, wait, do you believe me? Izuku, sure, why not? Merlina, wow. One of the few who doesn't call me crazy or a weirdo. Izuku, nah, it's okay. Merlina, and why did you come here? Izuku, let's just say it was a mistake. Merlina, also? Izuku, what do you mean, also? Merlina, I'm in Nevermore because of my parents, and I want to escape. I'm here by mistake. Izuku, and that's why you're going to the station, to leave and not come back, right? Merlina, exactly. Izuku, wow. He said, looking at her. Merlina, you don't believe me? Izuku, it's not that, just glad you told me. He said with a smile. Merlina, shut up, or I'll cut your hands off. She said, and the green-haired guy fell silent. By the way, what will you do next? Izuku, Merlina, you won't tell me? Izuku, Merlina, what's wrong? Izuku, you said if I don't shut up, you'll cut my hands off. He said with a chibi face. Merlina, I'm considering it now. Izuku, well, I'm going to the library. He said a bit nervously. Merlina, so, you like reading? Izuku, yes, that's how. Plus, I sleep on the library roof. He said in a whisper, but Merlina heard. Merlina, you don't have a place to stay? Izuku, no. He said and thought. She heard me. Merlina, When she was about to say something, they were interrupted by some people. Person 1, what are you weirdos doing here? Merlina looked at him with her typical expression while Izuku still waited for his coffee. Izuku, why is it taking so long? Person 2, hey, broccoli, don't ignore us. Izuku, person 3, don't play dumb. Izuku, excuse me? Are you talking to me? Person 1, of course, besides the emo girl. He said seriously. Izuku, it's just a misunderstanding. When you said broccoli, I thought it was someone else. I have a name, and that's not it. At that moment, person 1, dressed like the other two in a pilgrim-like attire, grabbed Izuku by the shirt. Person 1, so, you're brave, huh? Izuku, I don't want trouble, so please let go. I just want my coffee. Person 1, you're in our spot. Izuku, is that why there's so much fuss? Just by asking nicely, I could have given it to you. Didn't your parents teach you manners? Merlina just watched the scene. Merlina, what are you going to do? Then Tyler arrived with the orders. Tyler, leave them alone. Person 2, don't get involved. Izuku, he's right. I don't want him to get in trouble because of this nonsense. He said and then grabbed person 1's arm, applying pressure, making him release Izuku and complain about the pain, asking him to let go. Izuku just sighed and let go, surprising those who witnessed it. Merlina didn't show it, but she noticed that he did it effortlessly. Izuku went to Tyler, about to grab what he ordered, but person 1 went to him and knocked down his orders, breaking the glasses and the plate. Person 1, you'll pay for this. He said still in pain. Izuku ignored him and looked at the broken plate and glass. He started picking them up carefully to avoid cutting himself. Person 3 approached the green-haired guy and touched his shoulder. Person 3, hey, leave that and. He couldn't finish because Izuku gave him a terrifying look. Tyler got a little scared and shivered, while Merlina had a slight blush. Finding that look charming. Tyler got a little scared and shivered, while Merlina had a slight blush. Finding that look charming. Merlina, that look. And what's happening to me? She thought while feeling her cheeks warm a bit. It's warm. How gross. Izuku, what's wrong? He said seriously. For some reason, the people didn't want to continue and left quickly. Izuku just sighed and started picking up, and in a few seconds, Tyler joined him to help, while Merlina became more and more interested in Izuku. Merlina, maybe it is what I thought. Tyler, you don't have to do this, I can handle it alone. Besides, it's my job. Izuku, nah, don't worry, it doesn't bother me at all. Tyler, sighs, it's clear that you like helping. Izuku, is it that obvious? Tyler started laughing a bit while Izuku just gave a smile. In a few seconds, they finished cleaning up. Izuku, be careful, you could cut yourself. Tyler, don't worry, it's not the first time I've picked up broken glasses and plates. Izuku was about to say something, but then a person entered, resembling a police officer. Sheriff, what happened? Why did 3 people run out of this place? Izuku, lucky me. He thought and said, well, he was interrupted. Tyler, Dad, they started it, wanted trouble, and the green-haired guy named Izuku just gave them a scare. Izuku, so, he's his father. And I scared him? I just looked at them. Daigoro, sissies. Nana, language. The other carriers didn't say anything, they just had popcorn? Eating while watching everything unfold. Silence. And nothing, he has a point, language. Although, good one. The sheriff looked closely at Izuku and then at Merlina, but quickly turned his gaze back to Izuku. Sheriff, did he scare them? Sure, Tyler? Tyler, Dad, it's serious. Then, a woman Merlina knows entered. Merlina, darn it. She said as she slowly stood up. Izuku, from Merlina's look, it's clear she knows her, and she stood up just by looking at her. The woman observed the scene, and she seemed a bit annoyed but also a bit nervous. Woman, excuse me, Sheriff, he must have slipped away. She said and then looked at Merlina. Miss Adams, we're leaving. She said with a smile. Izuku, so. Failed escape. He thought comically, looking at Merlina. But. I came in vain. Didn't even get my coffee, although I at least helped with something. He thought comically. Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder, the culprit, Merlina. Merlina, excuse me, but is it possible that this guy is from Nevermore? She said seriously, removing her hand from the green-haired guy's shoulder, but this time she didn't wipe her hand. Woman, what? Izuku, huh? Me? Why? He didn't finish because he looked at Merlina and swore he reflected for a moment that he would help him. I'm going to regret this. He thought and said. Sure, I wanted to see if I could go to Nevermore. Sheriff, wait a moment, with the weirdos? And wait, are you an Adams? He said while looking at Merlina, who just nodded. Don't tell me you're Omero Adams' daughter? He said, and she didn't respond, just nodded. Your father must be in jail for murder. He said seriously. I'll be watching you. Like you, boy. He said while looking at Merlina and then at Izuku, then started to leave. Woman, whatever, let's go, Merlina. Merlina, I won't leave without the green-haired guy. She said seriously. Izuku, why such a rush for me to go? Yoichi, although, Noveno, if the girl said it's true that there are werewolves, vampires, and such in that academy, maybe you'll find a way to return. Hiksh, it's true. Besides, we lose nothing by trying. Daigoro, right, although I hope there's food for the mutant broccoli because he urgently needs to eat as well as drink. Nana, yes, at least you'll have a place to stay. Izuku, I think they're right. It's better to have something than nothing. He thought and sighed. Woman, but why? It seems like this boy doesn't want to go. Izuku, ma'am, you're wrong. I do want to go, sorry, but sometimes I'm like this. He said somewhat nervously. Woman, are you sure? It's a school for the weird and unique. Izuku, so, can I go? The woman had a drop of sweat. Woman, well, if that's the case, for me, there's no problem, but let's see when we get to the academy. She said in a hurry. Izuku, is it really that easy? Or is it because of the rush? If so, how will I enter without papers? He thought comically. The woman carefully took Merlina and left the place while Merlina looked at him. He sighed and started walking to catch up. Izuku, MNNNN, he who doesn't risk doesn't win. He thought with a chibi face. We see Tyler watching everyone leave. Tyler, Merlina Adams. Hey. He said with a smile and then continued with his work. We see Izuku inside a white car, sitting in the back while the lady is driving with Merlina beside her. Izuku looked out of the window, watching the trees go by. Merlina, hey. Izuku, what's up? Merlina, I think I owe you something. She said with her usual expression. Izuku, what thing? Merlina, you'll know in one of these days. Izuku was confused but didn't pay much attention, sighed, and continued looking out the window. On the way, the lady scolded Merlina a bit for trying to escape, but Merlina didn't care at all. It was evident she wasn't paying attention. Izuku, they talk here. I'm glad, he thought with a smile. Daigoro, does it make you happy that they talk? It annoys me. Izuku, I didn't mean that, I meant at least I'll have somewhere to go and maybe someone to talk to until I find a way back. Daigoro, I didn't understand anything, but I'll pretend I did. Izuku had a sweat drop. Lady, by the way, Izuku, right? Izuku, yes. But how do you know my name? I don't remember telling you, ma'am. Lady, Merlina told me your name. She said, confused, thinking she overheard their conversation. Izuku, huh? Well, sorry, I was lost in thought. He said somewhat embarrassed. Lady, don't worry, and you're from Japan, right? Izuku, yes, how did you know? Lady, that hair color tells me you're from one of those places. Izuku touched his hair. Izuku, is it really that noticeable here? Lady, of course, dear, just don't worry. Hair color doesn't matter at the academy. Izuku, okay. He said, still touching his hair. Merlina only looked at him occasionally while thinking about who Izuku is since he's very strange to her. Izuku, so. Tell me about the academy itself? Lady, well, it's strange, as I said. There are several things that will surprise you. Izuku, oh, really? He said and thought, is there a dimensional portal? That would surprise me, he thought with a chibi face. Lady, sure. Izuku, and one more question, hope I'm not bothering. Lady, relax, you can ask me anything with confidence. She said with a smile, wow, he's very polite. Merlina, he's like a bunny, running around everywhere but very naive. It's weird. Izuku, I'm glad. How do I enter the academy? It must be almost halfway through the school year, and besides, I don't have any papers. Lady, half a school year can be solved with a lot of effort to catch up, and you don't have papers? Izuku, let's say. I'm an orphan and practically live on the streets and sometimes in buildings. He said and thought, well, technically, I'm an orphan since my mom is not in this world. I want to cry. Lady, I'm sorry. She was interrupted. Izuku, nah, it's okay, ma'am, I've already moved on. He said and thought, actually, I want to cry. And hug my mom again. Daigoro, alright, alright, alright. He said, trying to console him like the other bearers. In the middle of the journey, they noticed an accident. From what they saw, a truck crashed into a tree, breaking the neck due to the impact. It was strange that Merlina knew what happened to the man without seeing him, as she said his neck broke. Izuku felt a bit sad about what happened to the man, even though he didn't know him. Dying like that is sad. After that, everyone fell silent, and the trip was awkwardly quiet until they arrived at Nunamas Academy. Izuku, wow. He said as he looked at the academy through the window. The lady smiled, while Merlina looked at him curiously, surprised that he was impressed by something like this. Izuku, I'm a bit surprised, although I've seen bigger things, but this is out of this world. So, I wouldn't mind investigating how the place is while also figuring out how to get back. The car stopped, and Izuku was about to get out but was stopped by the lady. Lady, before you get out, Izuku, I want to tell you that you're already at the academy. She said, and Izuku was about to respond, but she continued talking, I know you'll say you're missing your papers. But I'll make an exception for you. Izuku, but why? Merlina, yeah. Why? Another exception, too? Izuku, what do you mean, another? Merlina, well, when they were going to enroll me in this academy, it wasn't common to receive new students in the middle of the school year, but I could get in. Because of her. Izuku, so, is she the principal or something? This is confusing me. He said, and the lady just chuckled a bit. Lady, Merlina was another case, but you, Izuku. It's because I like you. Izuku, you just met me. It must be another reason that, from what I see, you don't want to tell me, right? Lady, maybe. She said, and Izuku sighed, well, now you can get out, later, I'll send someone for you to share a dorm with. Izuku, sounds good. Izuku got out and looked around, but for some reason, he felt a particular aura. Izuku, it's kind of eerie but also calming, a strange feeling. Merlina, are you going to stand there or what? Izuku, I don't know the purpose behind Merlina enrolling me in this academy and why the director or the lady accepted without hesitation, but I have a clear goal. Nana, but you can have some fun, ninth, take a little break. Hikage, seventh is right, a break doesn't hurt anyone. After all, we've been at it for 2 days and found nothing. Izuku, sighs, you're right. Merlina, huh? Izuku noticed that Merlina was still there. Izuku, well, she's right, let's go. He said a bit nervously as he entered the academy. Merlina, you're hiding something, Izuku, you're weird, and that makes you interesting. And I'll find out, she said with a small smile, but as quickly as the smile came, it quickly disappeared, and she started catching up with the green-haired boy. Izuku walked calmly through the academy's hallways, and those he crossed paths with looked at him, as some didn't recognize seeing someone like him in the academy wearing non-uniform clothes and having green hair with 4 freckles on each cheek. However, this made some girls interested in Izuku as they found him cute and adorable. Daigoro, that's it, Don Juan, you barely arrive, and you're already getting attention, that's the way, ninth. Yoichi, I'm continually surprised by the youth of today. Hikage, I say the same, first. Izuku, but why did they find me interesting? Also, I still have dark circles. I need more sleep. Nana, I think the dark circles and something about you make you somewhat peculiar. Izuku, do you really think so? He said while pondering what Nana said. Well, whatever, the director, who didn't tell me her name, told me that a guy who will be sharing the dormitory will arrive. Dormitory. Bed. He said while imagining himself lying on a bed. Now I know how Aizawa-sensei feels, he thought comically. Izuku stopped. Izuku, even though he didn't tell me where in the academy, where my partner would arrive, or where. Everyone, you got lost. He said with a sweat drop. Izuku panicked, but then he felt a hand on his shoulder. Izuku, huh? Merlina, you wandered too far. She said a little annoyed. Izuku, sorry, and by the way, do you like grabbing my shoulder now? He said while noticing that Merlina still had her hand on his shoulder. Merlina, does it bother you? She said seriously. Izuku, and no, just saying. Merlina, sighs, that white-haired girl will tell you that your partner will look for you near his office, and he will also give you your uniform. Izuku, thanks. He said with a smile. Merlina, although now I think you owe me. Izuku, huh? Merlina, to give you a place to sleep, study, even where to eat, it's a lot and practically free. She said and approached the green-haired guy, who remained firm but a little nervous due to the closeness. Izuku, so another. Thanks? Merlina moved away from him. Merlina, I want something more than a thanks. Izuku, and I was already wondering why she wanted me to enter the academy. Although I have to admit that this will help me. He thought with a chibi face. Now I just need to figure out why the director let me in just like that, maybe she'll tell me one of these days. He thought and sighed. And what's that favor? Merlina, that favor is for you to help me escape from the academy. Izuku, are you still going on about that? By the way, it would be better to walk towards the director's office while we talk. He said, and she nodded, starting to walk. Merlina, I want to get out of here. Izuku, I don't know, but if that's what you want, I'll help you. Besides, I owe you that favor, right? He said and thought. Although I didn't ask for the favor, it will help me a lot to stay here while I investigate. Merlina, thanks. Izuku, I don't know, but I felt like I should record you saying that. He said with a chibi face. Merlina, sighs, I don't know, but I feel like burying you alive 10 meters underground. Izuku, we both come out winning. He said with a poker face. By the way, out of curiosity, when you escaped, did you go from the academy to the town or what? He asked curiously. Merlina, I actually escaped when I went to my therapist. Izuku, oh, I see. He said comically. And when will you escape? Merlina, well, plan A failed, but now plan B. Izuku, and what is it? Merlina, I'll think of something. She said while Izuku had a sweat drop. Izuku, when you think of something, let me know. Merlina, sighs, that will be soon, and we've arrived. They stopped and looked at the director's door. When Izuku was about to say something, they heard someone. Merlina recognized that voice, but obviously not Izuku. He directed his gaze and noticed that it was a blonde girl with a blue tip and another tip in red. Rumi. She said, reaching Merlina but not noticing Izuku. Did you hear the rumors? They say a very cute boy arrived at the academy, and what makes him more adorable is his green hair and freckles on each cheek. She said excitedly. Merlina, Enid, calm down. Enid, I want to meet him and confirm if those rumors are true. She said, imagining herself meeting the boy. Merlina, Enid, he's next to me. Enid, what? She said, and Merlina moved, revealing Izuku, who was a bit red since he didn't expect them to speak so highly of him so soon. It can't be. She said excitedly. Izuku, hello. He said a bit nervous. Darn it. Are there already rumors? In this academy, rumors spread like foam. Enid, nice to meet you, I'm Enid. She said with a smile while blushing slightly. Izuku, the pleasure is mine, by the way, my name is Izuku. He said with a smile. Enid, God. So the rumors are true. Izuku, I barely arrived at the academy, and there are already rumors, Enid. Enid, it's just that gossip flies up to the clouds here, and I usually contribute to that, but this time, this rumor got away, and I wanted to confirm it. Izuku, you left me speechless. He said comically. Merlina, green-haired, as she said, her name is Enid, she's my roommate. Enid, yep, we're roomies. Merlina, let her be, that's how she is. Izuku, hee, don't worry, she's fun. He said while laughing a bit. Enid, and she's not emo, no offense, Merlina. Merlina, I don't get offended, what gets offended are weak people. Enid, I'm glad. She said with a smile. Izuku, it's clear you get along well. Enid, of course. Merlina, of course. Not. Izuku had a sweat drop. Enid, by the way, Merlina, seeing that you're here means your escape plan failed. She said, and Merlina looked at her a bit annoyed. So, you'll stay longer, and that means you can enjoy the festival. Izuku, festival? Merlina looked at her quickly. Merlina, when? Enid, wow, you're excited? Finally, something that excites you. Merlina, I'm actually excited to take advantage of that moment to leave. Enid, oh. But it was close. Merlina, and tell me when. Enid, in 5 days. Merlina, then I have 5 days to plan. Izuku, well, I'll wait to help you. Enid, wait, you're going to help Merlina escape? Izuku, let's say I owe her a favor. Enid, who, I understand. She said, and then she got an idea. By the way, I know you just arrived, but how about going to the festival with me? Izuku, what? Enid, I mean, to get to know each other better and have a good time. Izuku, well. That doesn't sound bad. Enid, so. Izuku, sure, why not? He said, exciting Enid. Also, if you can show me around the academy, we can get to know each other a bit while you show me the place. Enid, of course, it'll be a pleasure. Izuku, hee, glad to hear that. So, you have to wait for me since I need to meet someone to find out where my dorm is. After that, you can show me around the academy. Enid, so, when you go to the dorm, see you here a little later, okay? Izuku, sounds good. Enid, how exciting. She said and started to leave quickly while her mind was filled with thoughts. I have to plan everything. Merlina, she's imperative and very cheerful. Izuku, I see. He said and thought. She reminds me of Uraka. Although I think she's more imperative. Although she also looks more like Mina. He said with a chibi face. Merlina started to leave but not before telling him to let her know, he just nodded. Then a guy arrives? Are you? Izuku? He said annoyed. Izuku, yes, and what's your name? ? None of your business. He said, and Izuku fell silent. Follow me, you'll be my roommate. Unfortunately. Izuku had a sweat drop. Izuku, so, you'll be my roommate. But my uniform is missing, and... He was interrupted. ? If you talk too much, your uniform is in our dorm, so walk. The guy started to leave. Izuku, he looks a bit like Kachan. Not again. Daigoro, let's just hope he doesn't have Mulsuman syndrome. Izuku started walking, catching up with the guy. A few minutes later. We see Izuku in his dorm. Izuku, I like it? Damn, I thought you wouldn't like it, so you'd immediately leave. He said and then started lying on his bed. Izuku, now that I think about it, I don't have civilian clothes. Just this. He thought as he looked at his clothes. He then went to his bed and saw his uniform. It was the same as the others but had something peculiar, as it not only had blue but also green lines. Izuku, I like it. He said and then grabbed his uniform and put it on a nearby table. Then he looked at his bed and got excited, started lying down. Izuku, this is priceless. He said as he settled in, not what I expected. I have a roof. A place to study, even though I didn't want this. Also where to eat, although I think I have to pay, so I'll figure that out. And a place to sleep. He said and noticed some sheets. Without a second thought, he covered himself. Izuku, oh God. It would be a sin not to sleep in this comfortable bed. Thank you, miss, for this little nap I'm going to take. Just a weird little while. He said and started to sleep. We see Izuku sleeping peacefully, but then he starts to wake up slowly. Izuku yawns. Wow, you don't sleep much, huh? Izuku rubbed his eyes and noticed it was his friend. Izuku, let's say I don't. He said and started to get up. By the way. Enid was looking for you. He said somewhat annoyed but jealous. Izuku, Enid? Yeah, but I told her you were sleeping, and she said you should find her near the entrance when you wake up. Izuku, oh yeah, thanks. He said with a smile and started to change into his uniform. Sorry, Enid, but the bed was too comfortable. Izuku finished dressing and started to leave. Izuku, see you. He said and then left the dorm. He's interested in Enid? With Izuku. We see Izuku walking calmly through the hallways. Along the way, students looked at the green-haired boy, not only because he was new but also because of his uniform, which, though similar, had green lines. Gotta admit, ninth, the uniform suits you. He said while giving a thumbs up. Daigoro, watch out, they might mistake you for a model with that style. Izuku had a sweat drop, but then he noticed Enid walking around nervously. Enid, is he coming or not? I fix myself up more, although my hair is fine. Calm down, Enid, maybe you'll hit it off, and maybe more than friends little by little. She thought with a smile and a blush, but then she noticed the green-haired boy approaching. He came. Izuku, thanks. Enid, huh? Izuku, thanks for taking the time to wait for me. He said with a smile. Enid blushed a bit. Enid, and no problem. Besides, you didn't take long, so it's okay. She said while trying to calm herself. Izuku, really? Then I'm glad it's okay. I feel embarrassed for making you wait. Enid, it's fine, you didn't take long. She said with a smile. He's very polite. Izuku, by the way, where's Merlina? Enid, well, she's in the dorm. She told me not to bother her, so I left her alone, although I had to come out to show you around the academy. Izuku, oh, I see. How kind of you, thanks again. Enid, don't mention it. Also, why do you want to know about Merlina? Izuku, just curiosity. Enid, I see. She said and then took Izuku's hand. No more wasting time, let's go. She said and started walking with Izuku. Izuku, sure. He said a bit blushingly. On the way, they chatted to get to know each other better, and in the end, they got along well. Izuku, and he said, seriously, you don't know who I am? And she said, they changed the names in my contacts. Enid, and then what did he say? Izuku, so, he said, really? And what name did they give me? And she replied, Dark Vider. He quickly said, leave it like that, leave it like that. And she, confused but tired of not knowing who he was, said, stop joking, who are you? And he replied, I am your father. Enid just laughed while Izuku gave a smile. Izuku, interesting, isn't it? Enid, it was good, maybe I'll post it on my blog. She said still laughing. Izuku, you have a blog? Enid, of course, I publish rumors and stuff about the students of this academy there. Izuku, now I know where they posted rumors about me. He thought comically. Enid, we're here. She said, arriving at the academy's courtyard. Izuku, wow. He said as they observed students chatting and having fun. Enid, just like when I introduced the academy to Merlina, there are 4 groups here, fangs, skins, dens, and scales. Izuku, darn it, I don't have my notebook. He thought while comically crying. And they are? Enid pointed to a group, each wearing black sunglasses, seemingly not seeing anything. Enid, they're fangs, in short, vampires, and some have been here for decades. Izuku, incredible. he said, fascinated, although more by the idea of living here for decades. Wait, vampires? I think I've read some books about that. Enid, as you've seen, this place is for the unusual, monsters, and more. What's weird for you will be normal compared to this, she said with a smile. Izuku felt a strong wave of nostalgia, having seen giants, mutations, and much more. Although he had seen even weirder things, it was a relief to know that, so to speak, being a person with a quirk wasn't that abnormal. Izuku, yeah. Normal, he said with a chibi face. Enid, in that group are skins, aka werewolves, she said, and they started to howl. Full moons make a racket, so I recommend you wear earplugs or headphones with your favorite song at full volume. Izuku, so, those people near the tank are scales, right? He said, noticing some touching the water, and their hand skin turned into scales. Enid, that's right. You catch on fast. They're practically mermaids, the water is their playground. Izuku, it's like UA, with many students from different classes, although here, they're more laid back, seeking a quiet life without too many problems, just fun. He thought as they watched some students. It's amazing, and out of curiosity, what's the name of my dorm mate? He told me you were looking for me. Enid, oh, yeah, I looked for you, but he told you what I said. His name is Ajax. Sometimes, it's best to ignore him, they're Gorgons, and they seem like they're on a thread. Why? I thought he already introduced himself to you. Izuku, well, no, although he knows my name, I don't, and he treats me in a somewhat normal way for me, he said, remembering his time at school. Enid, normal? Izuku, nothing important. And what about you? Are you skins or fangs? Scales maybe not, since you look different from them, and if you were fangs, wouldn't you wear those sunglasses? Enid was surprised by the green-haired boy's analysis. Enid, why yes, I'm from the skins group, meaning werewolves. Although I don't hang out with them much. How did you know? Izuku, really? Then I guessed right. Well, I'm an observer, I like analyzing these kinds of things, he said calmly. Oh, I remember, these people were in an old book I found in the village library. It talked about these people and their characteristics, although in my world, they don't talk about them. Maybe there are no quirks similar to theirs, he thought, starting with his theories. Enid, Izuku? She said, trying to get his attention, but he sank into his thoughts. Izuku, she said, and this time he reacted. Izuku, what's wrong? He said, quickly understanding what happened. Sorry, sometimes I'm like that. Enid, it's okay, don't worry, she said with a smile. By the way, if you want to know more, I recommend opening an Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok account. Izuku, oh, okay, but it has to be another time since I don't have a phone. Enid, wait, you don't have a phone? Do you also not like technology? Izuku, relax, it's not that. My phone just broke. Yeah, it broke. Enid, that's too bad, but how about one of these days we go and buy you a new phone? Izuku, really? Thanks, he said with a smile. Then I need to save up. Enid, good, I think he likes me, she thought excitedly. I'm really glad, we're starting to get to know each other. Izuku, yes, you're fun and kind, Enid, he said calmly. Enid, really? Izuku, yes, I mean it, he said with a smile. Enid, I'm so happy, and you seemed very funny, interesting, and very kind, besides being polite, Izuku. Izuku, she's flattering me too much, he thought comically. Well, I think it's getting late, and there's still more to show, right? Enid nodded and began to show him the rest of the academy. Minutes later, we see Izuku saying goodbye to Enid, but we notice that Enid was laughing a bit while Izuku just gave a smile. They truly had a good time. Izuku, it was fun. Daigoro, now that I think about it, how did she know where your dorm is? Izuku, maybe it's because of the rumors that circulate here. Daigoro, yeah, it must be that. Izuku entered calmly and saw his roommate lying on his bed. Ajax, how did it go? Izuku, huh? Ajax, how was it with Enid? He said a bit annoyed but then calmed down. Izuku, are you okay? Ajax, don't worry about me. You barely know me, you literally arrived today and are already the center of her attention, he said a bit seriously. Izuku, look, I don't want problems so soon, okay? Please, can we get along? Ajax sighs sorry, but I'm sleepy. He said and started to sleep. Izuku just sighed. Izuku, you know, we have to get along, so I hope we can be friends. He said and then lay on his bed, starting to sleep. Ajax just glanced briefly at the green-haired boy but sighed again and went back to sleep. Daigoro, can I tell you something? He said while looking at the other carriers. This academy is like that movie. What was it called? Oh, yeah, Monster High. He said comically. Nana, Daigoro, you are right. She said comically. The other carriers agreed with Daigoro. -5 days later. Izuku. The 5 days have passed, and not much happened. I attended my classes, which are interesting, although I'm in the same classes as Merlina and Enid, and obviously with my roommate Ajax. At first, it was a bit uncomfortable since some people stared at me, but I spent time talking with Enid and Merlina, well, more with Enid. That's how the days passed. I also did some research on the internet, thanks to Enid, who let me borrow her laptop, although I felt a bit embarrassed as I sometimes felt like I bothered her a lot. She said there was no problem, but for now, I haven't found anything about those symbols, so sometimes I got frustrated. Still, the carriers always managed to calm me down, and so did Enid since she sometimes saw me a bit down, and she always cheered me up. I really like Enid. One day, Merlina called me and told me her plan, although it wasn't a big deal. My part of the plan is to distract the lady or the director while Merlina escapes with the help of Tyler. I don't know how to contact him, but those are just details. Although I shouldn't lose my training, I have to train and become stronger because when I manage to return, I'll come back even stronger. I've noticed Enid being very cheerful lately, although it must be because of today's festival, so the plan for Merlina will start soon. End. Izuku's POV. We see Izuku at a festival, and it was already night. He was in front of a prize-winning game booth. Izuku, let's see, Enid told me she would meet me here. He looked around but couldn't see anyone, seems like she's running a bit late. He sighed. Carnival worker, hey, kid. Trying to get Izuku's attention, kid. Izuku turned around. Izuku, is it me? Carnival worker, of course, are you waiting for someone? Izuku, actually, yes. Carnival worker, then try to win a prize for the lucky one. He placed a ball and showed the bottles. Izuku, sounds good, but I don't have money, sir. Carnival worker, that's a problem. I know. How about this, I'll give you a free shot, but if you miss, you'll have to pay me double, and since you don't have money, you'll have to work here until the fair ends. If you win, I'll give you 2 stuffed animals. How does that sound? Daigoro, he's underestimating us. Break those cheap bottles. Nana, relax, remember that if he fails, he'll lose all the time working and won't even get money, and... She was interrupted. Izuku, deal. Izuku, ignoring Nana and Daigoro, cheered on by Ann and Hikage, while Yuichi just laughed a bit at the scene, agreed. The man just laughed and gave Izuku the ball. Izuku, I just have to knock down those bottles, right? Carnival worker, yes. Confident, Izuku nodded and prepared to throw it. When he threw the ball, it went at a surprising speed, not only knocking down the bottles but also breaking them, and the ball flew out of the area, surprising the man and leaving Izuku with a sweat drop. Izuku, wow, he thought, amazed, while looking at his hand. Daigoro, that's how it's done. N, very well. Hikage, excellent. Nana, I have to admit it, that was good. Yoichi, indeed. Leader, I agree. The man couldn't believe it, it was the first time he had seen something like that. Izuku looked at the stuffed animals. Izuku, I want that cat plush and the bear one, please. He said calmly. The man looked at him and carefully gave him what was requested. Carnival worker, there really are strange people in this academy. Izuku took the stuffed animals carefully and smiled, but then he heard someone calling him. Enid, Izuku. She said, and the green-haired guy turned, noticing she was running. Sorry for being late. She said with a smile while catching her breath. Izuku, don't worry. He said with a smile, it's like the other time. He comically thought. Enid, and how do I look? Izuku looked at Enid, she was wearing a slightly flashy outfit, but it suited her. Izuku, you look cute, Enid. He said with a smile. Enid, really? Izuku, of course, but you'd look even cuter with this next to you. He said with a smile, handing her the cat plush, making her very excited, quickly grabbing the plush. Enid, I love it. Izuku, I'm glad you do. Enid, but what about the other plush? Izuku, that one's from Merlina. Enid, she doesn't like plushies, especially if they look a bit cheerful. Izuku, that's why I have a trick, wait here. He said, confusing Enid, but then he returned quickly, tada. The green-haired boy showed the plush again, and it looked a bit more eerie. It had torn parts, a button for an eye that was loose, and red dots representing blood, painted with white paint to mimic stitches. The materials were easy to find at the festival. Enid, it's horrible, it's perfect. She said excitedly. Izuku, isn't it? Although I feel a bit bad for the plush. He said, crying comically, but oh well. He said, putting the plush in his bag. Enid, why did you bring your bag? And also, why are you wearing the academy uniform?
Izuku, first, I carry it just in case, and second, I don't have any other clothes.
Enid, what do you mean you don't have clothes? Izuku, I forgot to tell you I have no clothes, just one set and the uniform. That's why you didn't see me with a change of clothes, plus, this is more comfortable. Enid, sigh. Oh well, I'll have to go with you to buy clothes. She said with a smile. Izuku, it's not necessary. He said, a bit embarrassed. Enid, it doesn't bother me, I'd rather help you. Izuku, thanks, but anyway, let's not waste time and have some fun. He said, grabbing Enid's hand, and they started walking together. I have to be alert for the signal and start distracting the director. Or Mrs. Director. He thought with a chibi face. Several hours passed. The festival started at 7 p.m., and Izuku arrived around 7:20 p.m., while Enid arrived around 7:45 p.m. Currently, it was almost 10 p.m. Izuku was having fun with Enid, talking, chatting, getting to know each other better, playing to win prizes, going on rides, and occasionally eating. Enid was having a great time, she really enjoyed being with Izuku. Izuku was having a good time too, but it was noticeable that some small tears would escape, quickly wiped away. He remembered the moments when he had fun and had a great time with his class, Class A. His classmates. But then, Izuku saw Merlina, and she nodded. He also nodded, and Enid saw that, understanding that it was her part of the plan. Izuku, Enid, He was interrupted. Enid, relax, I saw Merlina giving you a signal, so it must be your part of the plan, right? Izuku, yes, but don't worry, I'll try to finish quickly and come back. He said and thought, I'm really enjoying this. I miss this. Enid just nodded, and when Izuku was about to leave, she felt something on her cheek. It was Enid, giving him a small kiss on the cheek. Enid, I'll be waiting. She said with a smile. Izuku just nodded, blushing, and then started to leave to find the director, easily finding her, noticing she was watching Merlina, keeping an eye on her so she wouldn't escape. Izuku went to talk to her, even though she said it wasn't the right time, but Izuku insisted. Merlina saw that and took advantage. Izuku, I have to distract her for more than 30 minutes maximum. He thought while talking to the director. Sorry if I'm bothering you, ma'am. He thought comically. Minutes passed, and Izuku was still talking to the director. Director, Izuku, what do you really want? Izuku noticed that Merlina was no longer there. Izuku, I wanted to see if you'd let me go to the town to buy more clothes. Director, was that it? You can go, but you have to come back before it's too late. Also, why didn't you tell me these past few days? Izuku, I was busy. He said and started to leave, but, thanks. Lady, you're welcome. She said and looked at the spot where Merlina should be, but she wasn't. Oh no. Izuku was walking peacefully when he saw Enid. He was about to call her when his danger sensor went crazy, giving him a strong headache. He endured it, but then he started looking around. It hurt even more when he saw a specific place, the forest. He saw Merlina entering the forest. Izuku, what? Was my effort to distract the principal in vain? He said, but the danger sensor kept alarming. Hikage, I think it wants you to go to the forest. It says something might happen to Merlina. Izuku nodded, turned to Enid, who was waiting for him. Izuku, I'll be back soon. Just wait a bit longer, Enid. He said and quickly went into the forest. Enid, he will come back. He told me he will. She thought while observing the surroundings. And how well things were going with Izuku. With Izuku. We see Izuku carefully walking through the forest. Izuku, I have to stay alert. If the danger sensor warned me, there must be a reason. He said seriously. Izuku stopped and started taking something out of his bag, his suit. He put it on quickly and then wore Gran Torino's scarf. Izuku, ready. He said and activated one for all, then shot off. On the way, Izuku jumped from tree to tree, guided by the danger sensor, which was on high alert. He heard screams of pain and quickly went in that direction. With Merlina. We see Merlina splendid on a tree, seemingly floating, but it was clear she was struggling. In front of her, there was a monster attacking a boy, killing him. Merlina fell and started to get up. Merlina, what kind of magic or witchcraft was that? She thought while contemplating how she was lifted against the tree. Anyway, it's not the time to think about it, she thought while looking at the monster still attacking the boy's corpse. The monster stopped attacking, looked at Merlina, and before it could do anything, it heard a smash. The monster received a powerful gust of wind, sending it flying and crashing into trees. Merlina was surprised, looked at the direction of the attack, and saw a person in a suit with a design she liked. The monster struggled to get up and glared angrily at the person responsible. Izuku, stop. He said seriously, arriving at the scene and seeing the lifeless body. Looks like I didn't make it in time, he thought as he looked at the lifeless boy, then examined the monster's appearance. Daigoro, what is that thing?
Ha 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 ha. Nana, sorry, but I have to ha 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 ha.
Hikage, why does it remind me of enemies from a plant protecting game? Yoichi, I thought I was the only one. Daigoro, it's true.
Ha 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 ha.
I'm sorry, but I have to laugh. I'm sorry.
Ha 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 ha.
Leader just gave a smile like Yoichi while Hikage, Nana, and Daigoro laughed. Izuku, don't be like that, he thought with a sweat drop but remained vigilant. The monster glared at the green-haired guy with hatred and quickly started to leave. Izuku was about to follow but stopped as Merlina called him. Merlina, who are you? Izuku just looked at her. Izuku, Deku. He said and quickly left. Merlina stood there and saw a leaf fall onto the corpse. She went to pick it up. Merlina, Deku? This academy hides something, and I intend to find out. With Izuku. We see Izuku changing into his regular clothes and quickly went to Enid. Izuku, darn it, it escaped. Yoichi, relax, ninth, you'll catch it another time. Izuku, and soon, he does things I really don't like. He thought, but then he saw Enid. Enid. Enid looked at Izuku and quickly went to hug him. Enid, I knew you'd come back. She said and noticed that the green-haired guy was breathing heavily and slightly sweaty. Are you okay? She asked, a bit concerned. Izuku, yes, don't worry, and sorry if I made you wait for so long. Enid, nah, it was just almost an hour. Izuku felt guilty. Izuku, sorry. He said, lowering his head a bit. Enid, seriously, don't worry. Besides, there's still almost 2 hours of the festival left, so let's keep having fun. She said, and Izuku smiled, nodding. They went on to enjoy the festival. Izuku, that monster. I'll catch it, he thought, determined to capture the creature while looking for a way to return and defeat a foe. They then run into Merlina. Enid, wait, didn't you escape? She said, confused. Merlina, change of plans. Enid, so, what Izuku did was in vain. What could have happened to me in that time he was gone? Merlina just looked at her. Merlina, too bad. She said coldly while looking at Enid, who just pouted. Izuku, relax, it doesn't bother me. By the way, here. He said, giving Merlina a teddy bear. Merlina, I don't want it. She couldn't finish seeing the bear properly. Izuku, maybe you won't like it, and I think that's the case, but I wanted to give you something. He said, and there was no response. Merlina? Merlina, I have to go, I forgot something in the dorm. She said and started to leave. Izuku had a poker face. Enid, MNNN, she liked it. Izuku, what? Enid, she liked it, it even surprises me. She said while watching Merlina leave. But anyway, let's go. She said, grabbing the green-haired guy's hand, and they continued with their activities at the festival. Izuku, so she liked it. I'm glad. He thought with a smile.